It's Thursday, November 20, 2025. And as I stand here, it is 4 degrees. A bit of a breeze, so it's chilly. But as you can see, very sunny. There's actually a few bees venturing out over here at the hives. So people are asking me these days, have you moved your bees in? And if not, when will you move them? I've been looking at the forecast and it's looking like the Tuesday of next week, which I think it's the 25th, 24th, 25th. And why am I waiting till then? There's a few reasons. And among those reasons are, firstly, probably most importantly, I need to make sure it's cold enough outside for me to cool my building well with the bees inside. I'm not putting that many bees in the building, so that's not as tricky a situation as sometimes it is. But I do like it to be freezing or colder when I put them indoors so that I can have the cold outside air to cool the building. Another reason is, well, an important reason is I don't like to lose that building anytime too early. So I stretch that as long as I can. Another reason is the ground is not even frozen here. It's the 20th of November and the ground's not frozen. So I'd like the ground to firm up, freeze if possible, but firm up if nothing else. And so that when I'm moving with the tractor, I'm not making such a terrible mess of the yard, and it's much easier to do. Now, you maybe can see, I can't see the screen, so I don't know what you can see. This pretty much makes up what I'm going to be moving in. So we've got, we got 6 pallets of polys here, and then I have 4 pallets of wooden boxes. So that's 2 trips for the wooden boxes and 6 trips for the polys. So that's 8 trips. That's not nearly as bad as some years when I used to run 150 or more colonies. I'd be making 30 round trips between here and the building. And I often would turn that into 2 days because I would get very cold riding the open station tractor in the winter. And also it makes a real mess of the yard if the ground isn't frozen. So I would try to start early in the morning, because generally it's freezing overnight. I'd start early in the morning, and then at some point the ground would let go and I'd have to stop. So that's the reasoning. Why am I waiting? And you know, it seems like, oh, you know, you're doing the bees a disservice being out here. It's 4 degrees out here. It's 4 degrees in the building. The only difference is they have the wind out here, so the wind can blow into that entrance, and then, you know, that's not my favorite thing. And also that big fiery ball in the sky causes a day-night fluctuation in temperature due to solar gain, regardless of the day-night fluctuation in ambient temperature. Fluctuation is not good. The bees do well when the temperature is steady. So in the building, that is one of the biggest advantages I have in the building. There's no wind, there's no fluctuation in temperature, and there's no sun. There's no solar gain. So the temperature that the bees are at in the building is the temperature the bees are at in the building for possibly 5 months. It'll be a little bit later this year because, or a little bit shorter. Maybe. I don't know how early or late spring is going to be, but we will have skipped 2 to 3 weeks of winter already by the time they go in. Yeah, I can still cut the grass, and I have been. So it's been a real fall to remember. I could put up with this kind of weather no problem. This would be really nice to have as the norm, I think, but then we'd have other problems. We have an easy winter here, and boy, the next summer we pay for it because of the critters. the bugs and the mice and everything is just remarkable how they increase in numbers after an easy winter. Winter is a good old equalizer here. It takes care of a lot of that problem for us. So yeah, so I just thought I'd bring you out here, catch you up a little bit. This week has been not a whole lot of interesting stuff to show you. Yesterday I was in Winnipeg just for my usual packer trip and deliveries and errands and whatnot. So that was yesterday, and then, you know, just the whole week. Honestly, I've been having a little bit of rest. I think I took Sunday off. I just decided, you know what, I'm taking a day off, because I don't get day off very often. It's tough when you live amongst your job, you know, you don't get a day off very often. So that is what is going on here. I'll have something to catch up on. I'll show you right here. Last video I mentioned I was needing to dig out a skid of feeding shims, and so I accomplished that. They're right here. These are just old boxes I cut down to about, I think they're 1.5 inches. So that will do for my feeding shims in the winter if I need to put fondant on my colonies. The indoor colonies won't need anything, but the outdoor ones are singles, so I think they could burn through those stores. So that, you know, success digging that out. Anyway, that's all to catch up on out here. Thanks for watching. One other thing I've been doing this week is working in the shop. And I thought about doing this for quite some time. I first saw quite a while ago Philip RTX Honeybees on a live stream. He presented some little gift box crates, I'll call them, that he's been making, and they look like a really great idea. So I decided I'm going to try that, and so I did. I've used a whole bunch of scrap lumber and leftover pieces and things that were too small for anything else, and spent some time on the table saw cutting up pieces, and that's what I came up with. Now, there's a story, and I'm pretty sure you knew there was going to be a story. So this is what I came up with. I sized this so that it would hold up to 3 of my jars of honey. And there you go. And typically, you know, I wouldn't put 3 liquid jars. I might put a liquid jar, a cream jar, and maybe a squeezy in there. Just a variety for the customer. But I realized that the principles of woodworking are multifaceted, and some of the principles that I think is really important to take into account when you design things are material. So for example, if you have something that is going to take plywood, make sure the project fits within the 4x8 sheet of plywood, or 2 4x8 sheets of plywood. You don't want to make it 9 feet long, because you're into a whole other sheet. And also joinery, and that's the problem with this. So first of all, these bottom pieces fit in the first rule. That's just a 2x4. That's 1.5 inches. So it's just a 1/4 inch thick, resawn on the table saw. You can make those no problem. These are either a 7/8 or a 3/4 piece of lumber, and again, 1/4 inch pieces through the table saw, easy enough. These are a 2x4. They're a little different because they're 3 inches high, so I have to cut that 3 inches and then resaw it. It's 3 inches because that's as high as my saw goes. So I resaw that at 3 inches, and that's, you know, that's not my favorite thing in the world, but it works out just fine. And the big problem here is the fact that I made these a 1/4 inch thick, because that means that it's really hard to drive a nail into them. And in order to get this whole thing glued up, I have to use clamps exclusively. You may have heard me say in the past that the fasteners, the screws or the nails or the staples are just clamps. Well, in order to glue one of these up, this is the kind of thing that I'm into, right? It's all clamps, and I only have so many clamps. I have quite a few clamps, but really not that many. So the rule about clamps, though, is the same rule about clamps applies to bacon and fishing tackle. You can have enough and you can have not enough, but you can't have too many, right? So I worked away at those for the longest time, and I made a couple of dozen over here of that size and design. And then I was actually talking to Bob Walker, and he analyzed the situation, and he said, you know what, if you just took the time to do this, this, and this, it would be so much faster. And absolutely, he was right. And what I needed to do was I needed to cut my end pieces again, 1/2 inch, not 1/4 inch, because that 1/2 inch allows me to drive nails in it. See, nail, and I can drive nails in the bottom, slats, sides, everything. So trouble is, I didn't recut the bottoms, so now it won't fit 3 jars, but that's okay because the middle I was going to put candles in the center anyway. So that's fine. And you know, it took me a week to build a couple of dozen of the first style. It took me an hour to build a couple of dozen of this style. So yeah, good old Bob, he was really right on that. So then when I got that done, for the second design, I had to recut my slats, the little slats on the sides. So I was left with a bunch of leftovers. So I cut them shorter yet, and with the same end pieces, I can make a smaller box that just fits 2 jars. So I could have a creamed and a liquid, right? Or a creamed and a squeezy. So it depends on what the customer wants. Anyway, I have at least one store that always asks for these. I've never made the wooden ones before. I usually buy a cardboard box. It's a nice little box with a handle and stuff. But boy, the prices are going up and those are getting too expensive. So I thought, you know, I have all this scrap wood, and you know, you can see things that aren't right. I told Bob I was putting these together while I was talking to him, and I said, you know, building things that are rustic and don't fit together quite perfectly and are rough on the edges and, you know, glue squeezing out all over, I said, every one of these I die inside a little bit. Because I usually try so hard to do a really nice job. So that's what I've been doing. Spending most of my time building version 1, and then today I built version 2 and started in on version 3. So what I thought I might do here for you is just put one together and just kind of show you how easy it is to put these together now with this version of things. Okay, for this project I'm using an 18 gauge nail that is 5/8 of an inch long. So the slats and the bottoms are 1/4 of an inch thick. So that gives me 3/8 of an inch of penetration into the second layer. Okay, so this is how I've been doing this. I'll take my ends, just set them up here, put a little bit of glue on the end of my bottoms. that is the end of it. I'll make sure there's not too much glue sticking out. And that's the little gift box. Now, once I get them loaded, again, tip from Phil at RTX is to put it in a shrink wrap bag. I can't demonstrate that because I haven't got my shrink wrap bags in my sealer yet. So load it up, put it in the shrink wrap bag, seal it with an impulse sealer, and then shrink it down, and that makes a nice tight little package to you know, it holds the crate together. And I think with those other crates there, it's going to be even more important because I think they're a little more fragile than what these are. I have some of this shredded stuff if I need packing to use up space. Say if I'm using candles and I need to fill the space, then I've got packing for that as well. So that's the deal. Oh, I've also got some little honey dippers that I can put in the package as well to make it a little more enticing. The idea here is not to increase my profit margins. The idea here is to increase my sales volumes and make the customers kind of happy with something special at Christmas. So this is maybe another fairly short video for you this week, but forgive me for that. And I'm going to get back to work and build a few more of these, and then we'll find something else to do. I really appreciate you watching. Take care and have fun. It's Friday, November 21, 2025, and weather-wise, it's actually still beautiful weather. It was a little cooler today. I don't think it got up to the melting point, I guess you could call it. But I worked indoors most of the day. I worked in the honey house, just sorting things out before winter and whatnot. So I've got an update on my little crates project. So firstly, I've gone around and branded everything with my little brand. And you may have seen that brand earlier on equipment builds. I've been branding most of the stuff I build now just because. So now I need to fill the crates, and the larger crates that I started making that have the thicker sides, I made all these crates in a day. I made, you know, maybe 7 of those in a week, but these are going to have 2 jars of honey and some candles. I haven't decided exactly what to do with the candles. I've got little skeps with bees on them. I've got candlesticks. So that's the skep I sell for $6. Well, there's tax in this stuff, so I sell for $6 tax in. This stuff is these are $10 tax in, and I've got a bunch of these little dippers too. They're not very useful. It's just a novelty thing. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing with those. But I got my impulse sealer today and my bags, and I've been working ahead, and look what I accomplished. I've got a squeezy of liquid honey here. I've got a jar of creamed honey and a little brand on the end. And so that's a nice little package that's not going to come apart, and it shows well. You can read the labels through between the slats there. Yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. I did a sample one with 2 jars, and it's the same size honey. The squeezy is the same amount of honey in that jar. So, you know, I could do that, but I think I'm going to do the squeezies. I've been trying to introduce the squeezies to my stores, and most of these are going to stores. I've got 2 stores that are actually going to take these. And the squeezies, the little squeeze bottles do cost me a little bit more than the jars, but I'm looking at popularity, so I'm looking at maybe moving some more product, people wanting a squeeze bottle and being intrigued by that convenience. So I'll tip the camera down here and show you what I'm working on. So this gadget here is called an impulse sealer. I don't know a lot about it. I called my friend Mike Berry, because he uses an impulse sealer for sealing up honey sticks. I don't know if he does other work with it, but he might. And basically it's a heating element. There's an element under here. It's covered by some kind of a non-stick material, and you can turn this knob to, I guess, make the time longer. You push the handle down, and it's funny, the instructions say the green light will turn red until the light turns green. Or something like that. It's obviously translated from Chinese. So anyway, you push the handle down, it'll turn red, and then it'll turn green, and you release it. And it's pretty foolproof. So then the bag, blast it with my heat gun to shrink it up. And now, Mike, if you're watching, I didn't buy the one you told me to buy, and I'm probably going to regret it. This one was on a Black Friday special, so it was a really good price. It's 16-inch. I think it's a 16. But I do wish I had bought one just with the 3 that I've done. I wish I had got the one with the knife in the top, because you can seal it. You push it down, and then you run the little blade across, and it'll trim the bag appropriately for how much you've used. Well, I have to use my trusty scissors. I don't want a big tail hanging off the end. So this is the bottom of the bag. It's pretty flat, but the top where it seals, there's a lot more material left behind. So there's more of a mess there. So I have to make sure I get my brand. I didn't brand these 2 that I did on the bottom of the bag. So I've got a box of squeezies, I've got a box of creamed honey, and I've got a pile of these little crates that I made. And this is what does it say? It's like a 14-inch, it's a 10 by a 14-inch bag. And boy, it's none too big. I wasn't sure what size to buy, so I bought a 14-inch bag and a 17-inch. And I'm really hoping the 17s work on the longer crate, or I might be placing another order. They're not hugely expensive. It's 100 bags. I think it was $18 a bag or something. So it wasn't crazy. So put a little squeezy, put a little creamed honey. Got my brand on this side, so it'll be on the bottom of the bag. And I found that you can put the seal upwards or sidewards. Doesn't really matter because there's no seam on the side. It doesn't make it look funny. So yeah, and I put this piece of 2-inch styrofoam here because my bag is none too long and my product is fairly large. I have to get it real close up in here and then pull it across. I'll kind of pull it as tight as I can because stretch wrap material only shrinks so far. Okay, so here we go. Turn it, lower it, and light will turn red until it turns green. And that's it. That's all it takes to seal that bag nicely. Now, I want to cut that tail off, but I'm going to snip just the corner of this. And you think, well, why am I doing that? I probably cut a little too much. It's because when I shrink it, it's going to blow up like a balloon. Well, it's going to get tight like a balloon. I know Phil, when he was demonstrating it, he just said, well, you just shrink it until it kind of pops a hole in it, which I suppose would be fine, but doing it this way I think will work too. Okay, this is the fun part, the shrink wrap part. It just shrinks right up. See the wrinkles there? Those will just disappear, just like that. Okay. There you go, thing of beauty. To make sure I get my labels kind of correctly oriented. I got my brand nicely situated there. Right, so now I just got to do that. I don't know, I made a couple dozen. I made about a couple of dozen of each of the three kinds. I have to decide what to do about candles. You know, what candles I want to go in the box. I have to work with pricing, right? I have to make the pricing work for the retailer, but I also need to make the pricing work for me. These didn't cost me a lot of dollars, but by cracky, they cost me a lot of time. I've been working on this project for over a week, which is kind of ridiculous, but slow season. And, you know, in that week, I haven't worked at it constantly or all day because I honestly haven't been feeling very good. I'm feeling much better today, though. Thank you. Yeah, so I can fill these, or at least I can use up my squeezies. I don't have very many squeezies right now, but I'll fill these with squeezies and creamed honey, and then I'll figure out what to do about candles for the big ones. What do you think? Should I put a jar of liquid, a jar of creamed, and a candle? If I put a jar of liquid, I'll put a dipper in it. A dipper doesn't make much sense if you put it in with a squeezy, I think. Maybe I'm overthinking it. So I won't be doing this probably until after you might watch this video. So if you have a suggestion for me as to what you'd like to see in the larger crate, you know, do you want to see the liquid and cream jars with just simply with a candle, or do you want to see it with all the candles? That's going to be more money, right? I like the look of this. It's nice and full. I think I'd still go with a squeezy. So I'll show you that. So give me your ideas how you'd like to see that put together. I think that looks really nice. Look at that. Yeah, I think that's a winner right there. So how much would you pay for that? I'm thinking I need to charge my retailer, probably over $20 for that. But we'll decide. Give me your suggestions and we'll have to figure something out. And I can make a variety of them too. I don't think I want to make a variety. Sometimes less options for a customer is better. You just kind of tell them what to buy instead of giving them too many options. It's called analysis paralysis, where you get too many options and they won't buy anything because they don't want to make the wrong choice. You give them 3 options and they'll choose 1 or 2. All right, I'm gonna work at this and then I'll put this together for you on the weekend. Sorry there's not too much content going on these days, but you know, we're coming into fall and hopefully I'll have some crafts or something to show you. Maybe some more recipes in the fall. I'm certainly going to make more caramels. I do every year. So just stay tuned and we'll keep churning out these videos every week for you. I really, really appreciate you watching. Take care and have fun and have a great weekend.